It was called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, His Life and Precepts. Small book. And in that book, he introduced the entire Western civilization to the teachings that were given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and to the personality, Sri Chaitanya. It's a very interesting book to read. So many, decades later, a century and a half later practically. Not quite, but almost a century and a half. And it was a very historical event, which took place in the year 1896, when he sent it. And it just so happened, by the will of Krishna, that the person who would bring those same teachings to the West, namely His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he took birth in that same year, 1896. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur also predicted that there would be a very great personality, very great general coming in the near future. Because before that, no one outside of India knew about Chaitanya. Maybe a few academics, people, and that was about it. And even barely anyone knew about Krishna, except in the academic world. And they knew a little bit outside of India and Southeast Asia because they had been touched by the Vedic civilization. Mahabharata, this great epic, was known to them. You can still see remnants of that in Indonesia and Cambodia and other outlying places. And but the name of Krishna and the actual teachings of Krishna, although translated into many languages, the Bhagavad Gita, but people in general never heard before. And no one really understood practically the true implication, the true understanding of the Bhagavad Gita, the message of Krishna to the living entities. So, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, very powerfully, he was very powerful Vaishnava, pure Vaishnava. And he lived as a householder, not a renunciate. In fact, he had gave birth to 11 or 12.
His wife did, yeah.
Yes. Well, it takes two of them. He fathered almost 12 children. I forget whether it was 11 or 12. There's a photo of him with his family. And one of those persons, one of those sons, was the great, great personality who is the guru of Prabhupada. And his name is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yes, you see his picture. Not on this altar, but in our songbook, you can see his picture. This powerful Vaishnava, he is the one that took the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because he wrote many books. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a great author. He wrote nearly 100 books. And these literatures are the foundation of the preaching mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the modern day. Okay? He took the teachings of the 6 Goswamis that were written in Sanskrit language, and were not so accessible even to the Bengali-speaking people and Indian people of that time, because the Sanskrit language had kind of gone into the background of society. People were not speaking Sanskrit so much anymore. So he took those essential teachings and he translated them into an understandable form. And he represented them perfectly, in the highest possible way. So his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, never considered Bhaktivinoda Thakur his father. He considered him his guru, his spiritual master. You understand? That was his relationship with him. So from childhood, this person, the son of him, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he exhibited such qualities and character that even in his childhood, he memorized the entire Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses, at the age of 7, and he could actually speak every one of them and give an explanation of all of them. This was his nature. He never became married in his life. He was what is called Naishtika Brahmachari. A Naishtika Brahmachari is unseen nowadays practically in the world. But in the Vedic civilization, you would find such persons who never once lost their semen, that it went downwards, always went upwards. That's called Urdhva Manti. Urdhva Reta and Urdhva Manti also. Because the brain in the male is nourished by that potency. And Western civilization, they're very ignorant of this fact. Very ignorant. But actually, in the Vedic civilization, there was a system called brahmacharya, that from childhood, sense control, mind control, and abstention from these sensual, lusty desires would be trained in that, so that they could become a perfect human being. And then when they enter household life, they would be self-controlled, and not just an ordinary, mundane, lusty sense enjoyer. And they would pass on this potency, this spiritual potency, to their children. And their children would pass it down as well. This is how Vedic culture was transmitted. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave birth to 12 children, because he was a perfect human being. And his wife also was perfected soul, very exalted, Vaishnavi. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he prayed to Krishna, please, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please send one of your own people to give this movement a push. Because at that time, 400 years had passed since Mahaprabhu came, but yet it had not been taken outside of India. So when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati appeared as his son, he had the symptoms of a Vaishnava. His bodily symptoms showed, because in Vedic knowledge there's a system called physiognomy, where they can detect all the different auspicious symptoms in someone. They can understand how advanced and elevated in consciousness that person is, even from their birth. And one of the symptoms that he had was, just as we wear this sacred thread on our bodies, which is the symptom of a Brahmana, one who knows the absolute truth, a Brahmana. So he had this umbilical cord tied around in that way. So many, many stories about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, how he grew up, how he manifested his qualities and character. He had perfect memory. That's unseen in Kali Yuga. In previous yugas you would find it very often, but not in Kali Yuga. He had this. He could remember every page that he had ever read perfectly. He learned the English language simply by reading the dictionary. Brilliant, very powerful, brilliant personality. These are the personalities who are the gurus, the great acharyas, who have given this gift to the world. So, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our guru, who came in 1965, he was the disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and even though he was in family life, when he met his guru, he was about 25 years of age at that time, and he was in university, and they were following the Gandhi movement. At that time, everybody in India, all the students were following Gandhi. They wanted to liberate India from the clutches of conquerors, that it had been under subjugation for so long. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was in Calcutta, and Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he was named Abhay Charanaravinda at that time. and he came to a meeting a little bit reluctantly. And because he himself had also been born in a Vaishnava family, and he had seen many, many different sadhus, holy persons, but there's all kinds in India, and he wasn't so impressed. So one of his friends, his classmates, said, "Oh, there's going to be a meeting tonight with the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and he's a very, very great sadhu, preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. You should come and hear." He said, "I'm not interested." That devotee pulled him, that friend of his, university friend, and he came. And as soon as he entered the room, there was a small gathering, and as soon as he entered the room, they all, there was a few of them, and they're dressed in a white cloth, the type that was worn by hand-spun cotton as a protest to the British, called khadi, and they were wearing this. And then as soon as they lifted their heads, he began to speak to them. "You are all intelligent young men, and you also know the English language. Oh, you should preach this message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world." And then he began speaking about the importance. And then our guru, Srila Prabhupada, as a young student, he responded, he posed a challenging question. He said, "You're telling us that we should preach to the world, but who will listen to us? Because we're not even an independent nation. There are so many great nations around the world, and we've been under subjugation for a couple of centuries. So who's going to listen to us?" And then, in answer to that doubt, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati very powerfully destroyed all of his doubts and explained very clearly that this movement of Lord Chaitanya is not under any influence of the material world, political influence, economic situation, anything. It is a completely transcendental movement. And so Abhay Charanaravinda, our Prabhupada, he was very impressed. Very impressed. And after that meeting, he kept on thinking, "Oh, I have met such a great personality. Now the mission of Lord Chaitanya is in very good hands." So he was always reflecting like that. But so much time passed, he didn't see him again. But he kept on thinking, "Oh, I have met the person who I accept as my guru." In his heart, he accepted him. But he did not take initiation till nearly 11 years later. But during that time, because he was a young man and he became a businessman, had a young family, children, and he gradually got some association with other persons who were in the movement of Bhaktisiddhanta called Gaudiya Mat. He got some association with them. And gradually, it became clear to him that he must go and accept this person as his guru. So he came to the sacred land of Brajmandala, Vrindavan in India, and he met him there in a very exalted holy place called Radha Kunda, the bathing pond of Srimati Radharani. And there he accepted initiation from him, Diksha, and he became known as Abhay Charanaravinda, because his birth name was Abhay Charan. Abhay Charan means fearless lotus feet. It's a name of Krishna. Anyone who takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna will have no fear of anything. Abhay Charan. Bhaya means fear. Abhaya means no fear. So, in this way, this knowledge coming from Bhaktivinoda Thakur was now conveyed down to the appropriate personalities. In Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he built an entire mission in India called Gaudiya Mat. That's what we are part of, you see. And he established many mats, which are like monasteries and temples throughout India. And he sent the first preachers to the Western countries, to England and Germany in 1932 or 33, like that. So, yes, and our Srila Prabhupada, before, just at the end of the life of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he left this world in the very end of 1936. And our Prabhupada, as a householder, he wrote a letter to his Guru Maharaj. Of course, no one knew that he was going to be departing from the world. But he wrote a letter to him just like a month before. And just a couple of weeks after, he received a reply. And what was his question? His question was, "Oh Guru Maharaj, I am one of your disciples. You have many, many disciples. Some of them are brahmacharis, some of them are grihastas, and sannyasis, some of them. And I'm just a grihasta. But I want to know from you, what is your instruction for me?" And then he received the response to that letter just about 2 weeks before Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati left this world. And in that response, he told him the same thing that he told him the first moment that they met. And he actually told him that, "I want that you will preach this message to the whole world. It will be good for you and for all those who hear from you." And then he told him, because he was doing business as a young businessman, so he said, "If you ever get money, then you should try to print books. These kinds of books." And that was a very big part of the preaching mission of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Very big. He established a printing press. Printing press. It was running 24 hours. And they were printing so many different types of literatures, all the books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, distributing them everywhere. And they even had monthly magazines, and they had like even a daily newspaper for some time. So that was very, very vibrant, very powerful mission. And our Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, you see second from the right, with his hands folded like this. He was a very intimate disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also, you know. And so, but they were all connected. He was connected with our Prabhupada. They had a very deep relationship and friendship. So after the disappearance of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, then a period of some challenging period came. And through the remainder of the 30s, 40s, into the 50s, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, he continued with his household life and business, but always he was cultivating his Krishna Bhakti. And we get many reports that he was chanting every day 64 rounds, you know, of Hare Krishna mantra. And he had much association also with his godbrothers. So in his later life, when he was in his like early 60s, and his household life had been completed. His children were grown. So there's long stories about the details of how he transitioned from that life into his life of renunciation.
What age was he?
Well, I'm trying to figure, because when he took sannyas, it was 1959, okay, and he took birth in 1896, so he would have been 63, right? 63 years of age when he took sannyas. And prior to that, yeah, it was at least 3 years before that, because he lived, before he took sannyas, he also lived in Vrindavan, you know, in this Vamshi Gopal temple.
I think he left when he was 58.
58? Okay, so maybe it was like
yeah.
4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
right, 58, okay.
That really, it's in there for some reason.
Okay, yeah. So, then when he was living in Vrindavan, he came to the holy places and he accepted Vanaprastha. See, because I was talking to you the other day about these 4 orders.
Yes.
So I'm giving you a practical understanding of how we've seen this in the lives of our great spiritual masters. You see, they've exhibited different pathways in their lives to teach us, right? So Srila Prabhupada, he did that, and when he came to the holy places of Vrindavan, he met Srila Narayan Maharaj, who was at that time already a sannyasi because he took sannyas at a younger age. His story is also very amazing. How he left his family and home and he came to this pathway full on, you see, full on, fully embracing. So very extraordinary personality. And Srila Narayan Maharaj, he met our Prabhupada when he first came, and he practically pulled him to come and stay and live in their temple that they had at that time, small temple. Would you like a pillow? Or a chair? So in Mathura, there is a temple called Sri Keshavji Gaudiya Math. And after some time of living there, the guru of Srila Narayan Maharaj came to that temple. His name is Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. He's the one on the second from the left, on the bottom row there, you see. And he's the guru of Srila Narayan Maharaj. But he's also the god brother of Prabhupada and Srila Sridhar Maharaj. They are all brothers, spiritual brothers. Okay? So when he came, Srila Narayan Maharaj requested him that, our Abhay Charanaravinda Prabhu is so qualified. Please try to press him, put pressure on him, that he should take sannyas, he should take the renounced order of life. And so he did. Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj and our Prabhupada had a very, very close, deep, intimate friendship and connection, spiritual connection. So they talked intimately, and Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj told him, you have been given the order by our Guru to preach this message all over the world. You cannot do this unless you accept the renounced order of life. You must accept. And he pressed him and he said, this is the order of our Guru Maharaj. And actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was coming to Bhaktivedanta Swami in dreams. You take sannyas, take sannyas. He was coming to him in dreams, you see. So there's an intimate connection between all of them. And that order was fulfilled through his godbrother. His godbrother gave him the renounced order of life.
The Prabhupada used to say that I never wanted to take. I was terrified.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Horrified or terrified?
Yeah. Actually, there's an interesting story, very sweet story, how when Srila Prabhupada just came out of his household life, right, and he came to Mathura, and he started to live there. So Srila Narayan Maharaj told us this story, that when he met him, then they began to have very intimate talks. And Srila Prabhupada was like 30 years his senior, So he regarded him like his guru, but also very intimate friendship, you see. So they had a very close connection. And Srila Prabhupada began to relate to him that a story of his life, kind of, How did he get to where he is now? What occurred, what occurrences came about in his life to bring him to where he is now? So then he related the story that when he was younger, because he used to read also Srimad Bhagavatam, he was Vaishnava, and he used to study Bhagavatam, and he read a verse that is in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay? We have that verse. And this verse, it says, Yasyaham anugranami harishye tad dhanam shanai. And can't remember the Sanskrit of the second part. So what it means is that this is actually spoken by Lord Krishna himself. And he's telling that for someone who I want to give my complete mercy to them, yasyaham anugranami. Anugraha means my mercy, my real mercy. Yasyaham anugranami, then harishye tadhanam shanai. I will arrange in that person's life that all of their dhanam, their wealth, it will be taken away. And then, in that condition, their relatives will consider this person very useless, and they'll begin to reject him. And then he will take full shelter of my lotus feet. So, this is Krishna's own words. If Krishna likes someone, he may give them some wealth, and so many things may come in their life. But if he really wants to give his mercy, he will take away. It will gradually come like that, because they will take full shelter then of Krishna. You see, this is Krishna's way of doing this to all the jivas in this world. So, Srila Prabhupada admitted that when he was a young man, and he was a businessman, and he had a young family with baby children, and when he read this, he said, I was frightened. I was frightened of this, that this will happen.
Haribol!
Haribol.
What a surprise!
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yes, it was kind of impromptu, not completely, but it didn't happen so synchronized. So anyway,
Wonderful. Haribol.
yes,
Thank
welcome.
You. So good to see you.
Okay.
Hey, do you want to sit down? Okay, let's go sit down.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so then he was relating his story of his life to Srila Narayan Maharaj, and he said, when I read this and I was young, I became frightened. Because actually, it's